You want to talk? It was written.
Yeah, I think we've had a little NO.
Yeah. It was written, celebrated 27 years. Has it been that long already? Wow. And
Yeah.
I think this is such an interesting album because I've watched, even as we've done this show, the legacy of this album has
It's
continued to
fascinating.
grow.
It's
And I
fascinating.
remember when it was written came out, many of us who were, Nas listeners were slightly underwhelmed coming off of Illmatic. And I think that we were being unfair at the time. We were kids, but I also believe, and you brought up some of these things too, I think we were media influenced, and I think that the publications did a job on shaping our narrative of this album as opposed to us just actually listening to it for ourselves and shaping our own narrative. As great as the Source magazine was, right, and the 5 mic scale and all of that, it really shaped our narrative on what was great and what wasn't when you look back at it. And it was written, it was one of those times, I think. And I think that people who didn't grow up in that era and were able to listen to the album themselves have kind of reshaped the narrative of this album.
I'm going to go to one of my favorite albums and one of your favorite albums.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to tell me if you think It Was Written is better than these two albums. And if you tell me that it's not, I want you to explain to me where and why.
Mm-hmm.
Because so problematic has been the media's coverage, or was the coverage and the depiction of this album, that it literally has taken those publications, quite frankly, either not being here, having the credibility they used to have, for this album to ascend to the status that I feel like it always deserved. Do you think Liquid Swords is better than It Was Written?
I love Liquid Swords. I probably would put on certain songs from I'm sorry, Liquid Swords over It Was Written, but I couldn't make the argument song for song, track for track, lyric for lyric, that it's better.
Now,
Maybe production, that's about it.
Now, Mike, you and I argue about Liquid Swords and Supreme Clientele all the time. I'm going to ask you the same question. Is Supreme Clientele better than It Was Written? And if you feel that way, explain. Because think about the fact that you're going to need evidence to explain.
I feel like it is.
Explain.
I
Because
think
Supreme
that
Clientele isn't better produced than Liquid Swords to me.
I think the Supreme Clientele is better produced than It Was Written. I think that, in my opinion, there aren't any skip tracks on Supreme Clientele. I think the Supreme Clientele gives you everything that you want as far as like the Posse records. And if you want a hit record, then you got Shay Shay Lagos. Shay Shay Lagos, from a success standpoint, is not If I Ruled the World.
Or Street Dreams.
But I like Shay Shay Lagos more than I like If I Ruled the World personally.
So, but this is what I mean about, well, you have to look at it objectively. It's that when I bought up Never Seen a Man Die, I bought up a song that actually competed with those Juvenile songs.
You don't think Shay Shay Lagos competes with If I Ruled the World?
Nobody thinks that, Mike.
Really? From a quality standpoint?
No.
I actually like Shay Shay Lagos as a song better. You like If I Ruled the World better than Shay Shay Lagos?
I actually do, Mike.
Really?
It's not by much. I kind of hold the songs in terms of what I don't listen to from these artists' catalog in a similar stratosphere. But If I Rule the World is the superior song at every single turn, Mike.
I like Nutmeg more than I like The Message.
See, Mike, that's what I'm saying.
And again.
Okay, so, but this is what I'm saying. When you're saying that, I want you to objectively step back and think about what The Message is.
Yeah.
And think about what Nutmeg is and tell me where that's actually viable, because I get what you're saying, because there are things, and this is why I brought up Liquid Swords. How you feel about Supreme is how I feel about Liquid Swords. But when I step back and objectively look at it, I'm like, oh, them records not better than the records on It Was Written, outside of a few records, though, and I know the records. Fourth Chamber, Shadow Boxing, Killer Hills 10304, Living in the World Today, maybe. And it's like, no, the message is way better than Nutmeg. If I Rule the World's better than Shay Shay La Ghost.
I disagree with that.
Hold on, listen. The Posse Cuts, it's like, nah, fam, affirmative action. It's like Buck 50 and Wu Banger 101 might be better.
I like, I like both of those better. I like Buck 50 more than I like Live Nigga Rap, but I like Live Nigga Rap more than I like
Wu Banger.
Wu Banger.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
the Posse Cut's comparable, but this is what I'm saying. Oh, I love Ghost. Ain't no I gave you power or no take it in blood on no Supreme Clientele. He don't have anything like that Mike-wise on there, Mike.
Mike-wise?
And if you think so, Mike, that's what I'm saying is like that's more personal than objectively. There's no I gave you power or take it in blood. And story-wise, there's no shootouts or setup on Supreme Clientele.
I like Child's Play from a story standpoint.
Mike, is that shootouts to you, though?
I mean, I love shootouts. I think Shootouts is the better song, but I don't think we're on two different levels here. I think for my Supreme Clientele offers some intangibles, you know what I mean? And that's the thing that I think It Was Written misses in comparison to that album. You know what I mean? Like, I think that from a creative standpoint and just thinking outside the box, and you're like, yo, where the fuck did they get that from? That's what Supreme Clientele does in a way that I don't feel like It Was Written does. But what It Was Written does, and it does best, is mic performance. No album's really going to be It Was Written on a mic performance level.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When you're talking about those intangible things, like, well, how did this guy do this? You mean like make himself a gun for a whole record?
No, I'm talking about from his end, yes. But I'm talking about from the whole, you know what I mean? Like, the intangibles of Supreme Clientele is the production, the samples, his out of whack, you know what I'm saying, perspectives, and the way he's approaching records, some of the stuff he's saying.
Right. So, but that's what I'm trying to tell you is that tangibly it's not a better album. Like, because I feel that way about Liquid Swords. When you talk about Supreme, it's how I talk about Liquid Swords. It's like, I was saying this on Mirror Music the other day with Andrew. I was like, some days I want to hear the Jizza say stuff. I be singing Swords strictly based on keyboards, unbalanced like elephants and ants on seesaws. It's like, nah, Nas is doing that on It Was Written. It's
From
like
entertainment value, you think the entertainment value on It Was Written is higher than Supreme Clientele?
No, but that's what I'm saying. When you're talking about entertainment value, first of all, Ghost is a hard act to beat.
Yeah.
In terms of entertainment
just like
value.
how Nas is with the pen. Like,
but what I'm saying is that entertainment value is actually the only place where I actually entertainment and maybe diversity in selection of beats is where I see Supreme being better.
You think It Was Written is better produced than Supreme Clientele?
When I go back and listen to these beats, Mike, it's like I'm trying to hear the crossover beats because how about this?
Oh, Jermaine Johnson says, who claims Primo, NYC or Houston? We got to ask the contribution. Is his contribution more towards Houston or New York? Same thing we said with, the Atlanta imports.
No, I get what you're saying. This is what I mean. How about this? The beats as a whole are better on Supreme. As in, like, when I hear the beats by themselves, one, Buck 50, Mighty Healthy. We Made It.
We Made It, yeah.
Yeah, We Made It. Ooh, that's my beat. That's my favorite beat on Supreme.
Shit crazy.
Shit crazy.
His verse on there is crazy, too.
It Was Written as kind of Liquid Swords-like in the sense where, well, the beats are fitting the artist particularly in a way. It's not just about the beat. It's the way the beat fits the artist. And when I go back and listen to the setup and shootouts, and even what Preem did for I Gave You Power, it's like when Preem probably heard him spitting some of that stuff and was like, I can't give him no, you know what I'm saying? He had to give him something. You had to give him something that worked for that Supreme lyrical zone that he was in. And I think that's where It Was Written doesn't get enough credit. So do I think Supreme Clientele is better produced? Yeah, but the songs aren't better. Because here's the thing about it. Name the classic songs on Supreme because It Was Written's littered with them. Supreme is not.
So is Supreme.
No, it's not, Mike, because this is what I'm saying. Nutmeg is not considered a hip-hop classic. The message is. You're talking
Nutmeg
personally.
made it on that top 100 East Coast songs
and what did you say about the list?
I said that was personal.
You said that was somebody's personal list. Mike, The Message is one of those songs that falls on everybody's list. It's a hip-hop classic.
I like Nutmeg more than... But maybe that's
I get
personal.
you, but this is what I'm saying, Mike. That goes back to that Here I Go with Mystical versus Back That Ass Up at 400 Degrees. It's like, oh, do I like that record more? Am I going to play that record more? Yeah. Is that record really competing with High and Back That Ass Up? Mike, the answer is no, and that's what Nutmeg is. Nutmeg is like Here I Go by Mystical. It's like, no, that's great if you love that Wu-Tang shit, if you love Ghost, but if you think Nutmeg and The Message are on the same level, nah, Mike.
I think Nutmeg's the better
Mike,
record.
put it in the chat, Mike.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
gonna get your
yeah.
feelings hurt.
We'll do that.
It's gonna be like 80-20 though, Mike. It's bad.
We're in the Nas room.
How about this? The best song on Supreme is probably One to me.
You think so?
Solo, Mike.
I think Mighty Healthy is.
Okay, so best two records, One and Mighty Healthy. Solo shots?
Yeah.
Mike, what's the best solo shots on It Was Written? I want you to say it out loud so you understand the levels are different. Because One and Mighty Healthy, like
the best solo shots?
I gave you Power and Take It in Blood is like crushing One and Mighty Healthy. You know that, right?
You know what? I get the concept, and I love the concept of I gave you power, and he executed perfectly.
I love the beat. That's what I'm saying. That's Primo's most underrated beat nobody talks about. That's very much a Primo beat.
The beat is very Bring It On.
It sounds
Bring
like
It On-ish.
It sounds like something out of Group Home's album. That's what I mean.
This is what I'll say, and I know we were doing comparisons of athletes earlier. Supreme Clientele is more KG, where It Was Written is more Tim Duncan.
That's fair.
You know, and I'm widely more entertained by Supreme Clientele between those two albums.
Right.
Now, if somebody wanted to break down bar for bar, mic performance, and I guess hit for hit too, and say that It Was Written is better, I'm not mad at that. But me personally, it's not even a conversation.
How about this, Mike?
Silent Murder changes things, though.
Silent Murder's a game changer. There's definitely no Silent Murder on there.
And see, I think my biggest problem, and we're all, jaded by our formative years, the It Was Written I bought doesn't have Silent Murder on it. So that's the way I remember It Was Written. Maybe if I remembered it in a way where Silent Murder was involved, I might think slightly different.
So you're right, because the first time I heard It Was Written, it was on a tape, so I'm very familiar with Silent Murder. Like, very, very familiar. It's how it was introduced to me, so I don't know It Was Written without Silent Murder.
Yeah.
It's track 7 after Taking in Blood.
Incredible record.
Yeah, it goes into Taking in Blood and then Silent Murder.
And it's actually my personal favorite Nas song.
But here's what I'm saying, is that, okay, where do you have Supreme all time?
I think Supreme Clientele is the best hip-hop album of the 2000s.
So think about the fact that we're arguing about It Was Written with the best album of the last 23 years.
Yeah.
What does that say about what It Was Written
It's
really
high praise.
is?
It's actually his second best album, if we're going to be objective here.
Exactly. But what I'm also trying to say is, okay, let me rephrase it. Is Supreme Clientele a top 25 album?
I think it could be, but I don't think it is. I don't think It Was Written is either, though.
I think they both are. That's what I'm trying to say.
I got to come on my list.
You do. How about this?
To debunk that. Hold on, let me get some of these super
You
chats
think
real
Midnight
quick.
Marauders is better than It Was Written?
I don't. I'm going to be real. I think Low End Theory is.
I do too.
Yeah.
Low End Theory is better than almost everything ever made, though.
They're going to kill us in the chat with that, too. CJ Kid with the super chat says, we had It Was Written versus LS and SC before, guys. Just waiting for you guys to use the album rubric that we made before. After those, It Was Written has the battle Ready to Die next. I don't think It Was Written beats Ready to Die. It's just my opinion. Now I say I'm tripping in the chat.
That's going to be hard to do.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm saying. This is what I mean about when you start breaking stuff down and looking at it. And you look at It Was Written for what it is. Well, as much as I love Things Done Change, the message is better than Things Done Change.
I agree with that.
Street Dreams or Give Me the Loot. I Gave You Power or Machine Gun Funk. It's not as easy as people make it out to be. Take It in Blood or Ready to Die. The One More Chance or Silent Murder.
Oh, you're putting Silent Murder there?
Didn't it just get re-released with Silent Murder on there?
They put it at the end, though.
I don't care where they put it, Mike.
I got to look at this original track list.
Mike.
It was number 7?
The tape version? Mike.
I thought it was at the end.
Oh, God, Mike, you don't know this? The tape, the first side of the tape ends with Silent Murder. That's how the first side of the tape ends.
See, I thought it ended with Silent Murder. Okay, so.
No.
Okay.
On the original version, tracks 1 through 7.
What a
side
travesty.
A, think about this. This is what I'm saying. You talking about Supreme Clientele is better. Mike, on the first side of it was written on the tape is the message. I gave you power. Take it in blood. And Silent
But
Murder.
see, stuff like Nas Is Coming and stuff like
Nas Is
Black
Coming
Girl
is-
Lost,
See,
it throws it off to me.
But listen, Nas Is Coming is also like placed there intentionally because it's how the second part Start.
I skipped that record though, and there's nothing I skip on Supreme
But
Clientele.
that's what I'm talking about. That's you, Mike. I skip stuff on Supreme Clientele. Like, as much as
Yeah.
I love Malcolm, it's like Malcolm ain't like that all the time.
I think
Mike.
Malcolm is the weakest song on there as well.
I don't-
But you could tell that Malcolm was more
I don't love
Iron
Ghost
Man
Dini.
days.
I don't love Ghost Dini.
Oh, Ghostini's incredible. Ghostini's incredible.
No, it's not, Mike.
No, Ghostini's incredible, yo.
It's not.
Wally Boots, Jamaican hat, long for a pound, ass niggas how I get down.
It's
Don't
good,
speak
Mike.
much, deluxe plus
It's good.
imagination. Hold a
I'm
note.
aware.
Like Willie Hutch, you might have bumped into me on the Rikers
I can't
bus.
talk to you.
Yo, this nigga was going crazy.
I can't. Talking to you about Supreme Clientele is like trying to talk to me about the 95
Yeah.
Nas feature run. You're not trying to
Yes.
hear anything that I'm trying to say about any of it. You ain't trying
I'm
to
closed off.
hear, right? You're totally you are emotionally unavailable to love albums outside of Supreme Clientele. You need to talk to somebody.
CJ Kid with the super chat says, I'm saying Ready to Die because it's the next album after Supreme on the album list at number 12. Man, he's got that album list memorized.
But this is what I'm saying too. Is like back to that Ready to Die thing. It's like, oh no, that ain't happening as easy as you think, because the weak tracks on Ready to Die or some of the strongest stuff on it was written. Like, think about this, like those Respect, Friend of Mine, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's going up against shootouts and live nigga rap.
It's true.
Yeah.
We got to parse this out.
But think about where Ready to Die is. Think about where Supreme is. Think about where Liquid Swords is. If I can have, I'm just forging this conversation with you. That's like, well, if I can compare, it was written to Ready to Die,
Yeah, it's high.
and to Supreme Clientele, and to Liquid Swords.
Because that used to feel unheard of.
That means these motherfuckers got it wrong.
Yeah, you're right.
Way wrong.
Not
That's
Mad
the
Max.
problem.
Max with the super chat. And Mad Max must be missing today. Illmatic is Nas's best album, but It Was Written is his greatest mic performance. I agree with both of those things.
It's the greatest mic performance ever.
007 with the super chat says It Was Written has more highs than Supreme Clientele. Also,
does.
the bars are too deep. It Was Written also came out in a tougher rap climate. Ghost doesn't sound as sharp or creative.
Because keep in mind, Iron Man does come out in 96.
It does.
You know why ain't nobody talking about Iron Man like that? It was written reasonable doubt. Right.
And honestly, Ghost just wasn't where he was on
He wasn't the
Supreme
best.
Clientele.
Right.
Yeah.
I told you, Ray's the best rapper
Ray's
on Iron
the best
Man.
rapper on Iron Man.
He's the best rapper on the
And
Purple
Ghost
tape,
is
too.
my guy. Ghost is like one of my personal favorite MCs. And Supreme Clientele kind of started that moment, so I guess,
No, Supreme is special, Mike.
Yeah.
But it's just like when I go listen to, like, this is what I mean.
It's got so much personality, man.
But see, context matters. That's what I mean. Fake thug, no love. You get the slug. CB4
CB4
Gusto.
Gusto,
You
you
luck.
luck,
No,
though.
I didn't know till I was drunk, though. You freak niggas played out. Get fucked. No, every nigga in New York know those bars, Mike. Every nigga in New York knows those bars.
Frank Wizard with the super chat says, Nas 22 dropping It Was Written. Ghost was 30 when Supreme Clientele dropped. Nas was so ahead, so young. Well, that's not the argument.
Ghost has even said Nas is the GOAT, but that's neither here nor
Well,
there.
we know that. I'm not saying Ghost is better than Nas. We're
No.
talking about two
You're
albums.
talking about two albums.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that it's...
Yeah.
And I think, how about this? When I did my list, I believe that I had Supreme Clientele all time, like 14, 15, 16.
That's super high.
Mike, there's not a lot of albums. Think about what
Yeah.
you're saying. Okay, so think about what you're saying. If you think Supreme Clientele is the best, 2001, correct? 2000?
2000.
2000.
Yep.
You think it's better than My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy?
That was 2010. But yes. If you're asking me, yes.
Do you think it's better than Good Kid, Mad City and To Pimp a Butterfly?
In my opinion, yes.
Do you think it's better than Daytona, Pray for Paris, and KD3
yes.
and
yes.
Magic?
Yes.
That makes it the
And
best.
I'm talking about the first decade of the 2000s.
But no, but
I
Mike, but what
still
I'm
think
saying is
yeah.
that if you feel that way, you think it's better than Get Rich or Die Trying?
See, I used to feel like it is. There's a debate there. Get Rich or Die Trying is tough, but I
So-
think it is.
So how about this?
I think it's better than The Blueprint. I think it's better than B.
Okay, so Supreme Clientele, B, Blueprint, Get Rich or Die Trying.
Incredible albums. All
My
of them.
Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy would be my fifth. That's of the 2000s, right?
2010, but I mean, it's a whole nother decade.
No.
but
I
yeah,
mean,
you talking about
2000.
2000s beyond?
2000s beyond. No, I think It Was Written is better than all of those albums except for
Wow.
maybe Get Rich or Die Trying, Mike.
Yeah. Wow. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says,
I
Mike,
do.
to your point of intangibles, Ghost wasn't saying anything when he said supercalifragilisticexpialidocious backwards.
He's not.
But you try to say that, Jermaine. How about you try? Can you say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious backwards?
I used to be able to because I used to practice it when I used to listen
So
to Supreme like
this
that.
this is mic techniques, and this is like, you know what I'm saying, MC shit.
No. This is
So Eminem could go out there and say super lava 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 lava, and that's lyricism. But
this is word usage and verbalism.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to discount what Ghost is doing. It's also nonsensical, but
that's a style choice. We know he can make sense.
No. That's a stylistic choice.
Yeah.
I'm saying all of this to say is that, how about this? The only albums that I know that are better than it was written when I go back and listen to it are the albums that were clearly bigger. Like clearly bigger. Like
Death Certificate?
How about this? I think Death Certificate and It Was Written are comps, and I think those are top 20 albums. When I'm saying bigger, I mean, like, oh no, I think Get Rich or Die Trying probably gonna take It Was Written down.
Yeah.
It Takes a Nation of Millions gonna take It Was Written down. Doggy Style, The Low End Theory, The Chronic, Enter the Wu-Tang, The Purple Tape.
Those are heavy hitters.
Like, you gotta have a heavy hitter album, because here's what people forget about this is like, no. If I Rule the World is on this album. So his biggest hit is on his best mic performance, Mike.
Kind of giving you everything.
If he's the best MC ever, this is his second biggest selling album. He's got his biggest hit, and it's got arguably his 3 best mic performances on it. Because I do think I Gave You Power, Take It in Blood, and Silent Murder are arguably his 3 best mic performances. Maybe Nas is like In New York State of Mind, Memory Lane come to mind, but in argument with those. So it's like, well, his best lyrical performances are on here. His biggest songs are on here. His best stories might be on here. The shoot-ups.
Well, that's when he became the storyteller that we know.
So how about this? What album got stories like the setup and shootouts before It Was Written? Because I swear every New York rapper, including Big, had crime stories after this, but not before this.
That's fair.
New York niggas wasn't telling crime stories before It Was Written. Not on record. I think Spot Rushers on the Purple Tape is probably the only crime story that precedes It Was Written where I'm like, okay.
Well, shit, we need to research that. Let me get to the rest of these super chats.
There's the G-Rap shit.
Of course.
There's the G-Rap shit.
But yeah, Jermaine Johnson also said after the backwards part, he said, but it sounded amazing. Enough to flex and let niggas know how nice he is. Okay, so he acknowledged that part. Peter Parks in the super chat says, It Was Written's magic is also in the sound and the approach to the sound. It's gritty but slick like a pop album. Okay. 36 Chambers in the super chat says, Supreme is a top 20 all-time hip-hop album, but It Was Written could arguably be in the top 10 slot. I prefer Supreme, but I understand why people say It Was Written wins that. I feel the same way.
Stillmatic might be better than Supreme too, Mike.
I disagree with that too. CJ Kidd with the super chat says,
for song.
Liquid Swords was number 14, Supreme was 13, Ready to Die was 12.
Yeah.
That's the next matchup for It Was Written.
I think it's in that wheelhouse, yeah.
88 Spencer with the super chat says, in 96, I was 26 years old. I bought It Was Written when I was in London. I thought Nas was the greatest ever. Leroy Green with the $20 super chat showing love says, what's up, my guys? I'm late, but competition for It Was Written was All Eyes on Me, and that's where things got spicy because they had the same beat in one song, but Pac had better production. Nas was lyrically superior. Supreme was fine art. Definitely was. MC with super chat says, Nas was spazzing on Nas Is Coming. Esquire with the super chat says Stillmatic and Supreme might be a closer comparison. Okay, so people want to do that. 36 Chambers says, when y'all did It Was Written and Supreme versus, it was close. I think Supreme beat Stillmatic with ease. Leroy Green with another super chat says, Coop, what makes Supreme special is the fact it's nonsensical. It's probably the only album in rap where the artist himself don't even know what he's talking about. 2000 was about being different. He knows what he's talking about.
No, I mean, Supreme is great. I just think it's argumentative, and I think that speaks to the stature of It Was Written, because here's the thing about it. The thing where It Was Written got unfair media coverage was because, well, if you felt like Illmatic was one of the greatest rap albums that you ever heard, think about it. This is 1996. So back to the Vibe review. It's like, well, this album isn't, I believe, By All Means Necessary is what they brought up. The Greatest Adventures of Slick Rick.
That it's not. But
and,
song
and,
for song.
and Paid in Full, and It Takes a Nation.
Well, they came with some heavy hitters.
They came with the heavy hitters, Mike.
Yeah.
They came with 4 of arguably the 5 best albums of the era.
Of that time, specifically.
But what time proved past 96 is it actually, well, no, Mike, Illmatic actually is better than all of those albums. And the only album...
Other than Paid in Full and The Great Adventures, I don't know if it's better than that.
See, that's the thing, Mike. When you're saying that, it's like, oh, song for song, The Great Adventures don't hold up next to Illmatic.
The heavy hitters on The Great Adventures are hard to ignore.
No. The heavy hitters, heavy hitters win. But this is what I'm saying is like, how about this? The first 2 songs, the first 3 songs. How about this? Children's Stories is up against The World Is Yours.
The World Is Yours. Oh, you're talking about Illmatic. I thought you were talking about It Was Written.
Oh yeah, It Was Written is better than. No, I'm talking about what they were saying about Illmatic.
What they were saying. Okay.
They were saying Illmatic wasn't that, and I'm like, well, Illmatic.
Okay, I thought you were saying that they said that about It Was Written.
No.
Oh, okay.
They started off. Okay, so the Vibe article in 1996 starts off by talking about Illmatic, of saying that Illmatic is a classic. They said it was a classic because it brought back lyrics and lyricism to hip hop. But they said it wasn't classic in the sense of a Paid in Full, It Takes a Nation, The Greatest Adventures of Slick Rick, and By All Means Necessary. So they had hit Illmatic with some second-tier classic status in 1996. So understand in 1996?
In 96, I'm getting confused. You talking about Illmatic or you talking about It Was Written?
Illmatic. They're talking.
They're talking
starting
about
off,
in the 96 review. Gotcha.
In the 96 review of It Was
Okay.
Written, this is how they're contextualizing the previous album. As in,
Gotcha.
It's a classic, but it ain't like that.
Okay.
So you see how they already
They
talking
were already
about him?
hating.
Right, because you're talking about Illmatic like this 2 years after Illmatic, and it's like, no, like how about this? It was maybe not considered to be the greatest rap album of all time then in 96, but
give it some time.
It was, how about this, Mike? It was clearly conversational.
Yeah.
It was clearly conversational. It was one of the best rap albums that you had ever heard.
John with the super chat says, Ye had the best albums of the 2000s. Stop it, Mike. See, I didn't want to bring Ye in the conversation, but hey.
I bought My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, so.
The college dropout, man. CJ Kid with the super chat says, just in case you guys feel It Was Written is better than Ready to Die, well, at number 11 is The Infamous. How do you feel about that matchup? 007 with the super chat says, Pac was studying It Was Written. All anyone needs to know is all anyone needs to know. He said that's all anyone needs to know. I mean, we can leave it there.
Right, but I just
do need to
hold on. But I just say all this to say,
It Was Written.
Think about this. So they tried to slide Illmatic down before they even started talking about It Was Written. So it's like they tried to make it. Oh, and then I believe they said it wasn't as impactful as The Chronic, Doggy Style, and Enter the Wu-Tang.
Oh, it's funny.
Right, so you see how they kind of slid it down, like almost like outside the top 10 rap albums of all time, and that was what they did to Illmatic.
That was intentional.
Right, that was intentional to place It Was Written further back. But what I'm saying is what has happened over time is, even if you don't think Illmatic is the best rap album of all time, that's a top 5 rap album, Mike.
Yeah, straight up.
Ain't no way it's not a top 5 rap album.
And It Was Written continues to climb because a lot of people feel like It Was Written's even better than Illmatic.
And even if you think It Was Written isn't that far behind, if this guy made a top 5 rap album, the other album ain't that far behind, I mean that album probably about 15 to 20.
007 with the super chat says, Big responded to It Was Written. That's all anyone needs to know.
So I'm going to say this, and we can leave it right here. I want all the hip-hop heads to go listen to the setup and then go listen to Niggas Bleed and tell me that Big's not studying Nas on It Was Written.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. John with the super chat says, 808s and Heartbreaks was a fire classic as well. Shout out to John.
Don't let John super chat.
Shout out to John. He's telling the truth. 808s and Heartbreaks ain't a classic.
It's not good.
It's a classic.
It's not even any good.
It's a classic, though.
It's got 3 good songs.
It's a classic. Is it not? It changed the game.
Changing the game and being a classic.
You have to be a classic to change the game.
That's not true. That's why hip hop is changing. It used to be that you had to make a classic to change the game. No, you don't have to do that anymore.
CJ Kid with super chat
How about this? You never really had to do it because Tupac changed the game before he ever made a classic album.
Well, I mean, different things can be true. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be all those encompassing things. The album itself changed it. Tupac changed it, not the album. That's what I'm saying. CJ,